What can the Buddhist teach us about gluttony and the dangers of it? By Fyodor von Keck. A friend of mine, a French friend of mine who goes by the shadow name Cheeky, introduced me to a lot of esoteric and monastic tradition of the Taoist and especially Buddhist thought. And what have I learned personally from such learnings and such informational channels, such as the monk's Mahabhuva, his website? I've learned the following that just following your passions and your desires can lead to gluttony, and it does not lead to true happiness, such as the classical examples of women, alcohol, tobacco, narcotics, excessive partying. What it does scientifically is that gives you a dopamine high, yes, but after that high is gone, you will feel empty inside, and you need higher and higher doses to feel happy. And once you have experienced it all, like a rich dad's kid, you will no longer feel satisfied. You'll feel depressed and aimless and empty inside. You cannot take the silence. You need constant stimulation. And what the Buddhist solution is to analyze, to introspect on those desires, and then to try to not dwell on them and uproot them to a certain extent. Depends on if you want to be a monk or not. Monks will have to do it very totally and give up on them completely. But even from a non monastic perspective, such learnings and teachings are still very useful. For example, if you are struggling with body fitness and desire chips, you should think about your future. If you eat those chips, you'll feel a short burst of dopamine and satisfaction on a full belly, and later you'll have clay poop and you'll feel like your stomach is going to explode and that it hurts a lot. And you must ask yourself if the desire and the fulfillment of the desire is worth the negative consequences. And I think not. Or, for example, another famous example, women. A lot of men, especially if you're good looking, if you're a Chad, you'll have different problems from an incel, from a Chad, from a virgin. Chads and virgins, they can't get laid no matter what. Sometimes it's very hard for them, they're autistic, or they're very ugly, or they're short. And you may think that, well, if you're a Chad, then your life is made because, well, your genes are good, you're good looking. But it's not really so. If a Chad gives in to his constant temptations to womanize, especially without protection, he could get a very nasty STD and, shrivel up, lose all his muscle, and end up with HIV and herpes in a hospital bed. So again, if a woman is too easy, if too flirtatious, if she's drunk, especially, that is illegal. You should introspect on that desire. Think about the future consequences. Think about, does it actually satisfy you in the long term? The answer is no, and therefore if you are offered a lot of chances to cheat and sleep around, I think that even if you have that ability as a Chad, you should not do it. It's not good for you. Tobacco and alcohol goes the same way. They cause organ failure, like liver and lung damage, and of course it kind of feels dizzy. I've tried both of them, but because I'm too high off my autism, I will never get a serious high. My autism is the only drug I need, but they make you feel kind of dull, kind of dizzy, and can dull out your pain and sufferings, whatever. But they don't remove the root causes. Now, for example, if you're in debt, buying a bunch of alcohol is just a strain on your budget. You should deal with your debt. You should try to organize your finances, cut your expenditure, increase your revenues. Work harder. Don't be a degenerate. Instead of just draining those sorrows, and that is self-discipline. That is long-term thinking and also giving up on the desire to constantly consume these sedatives. And another thing is being present in the present moment, enjoying the present. Not always worrying about the future like a obsessive Sigma male grinder who has to constantly sell and pump and dump cryptocurrencies, but enjoying the present. So, for example, a walk in nature, a very simple pleasure. A lot of people dismiss it because we have computer games, we have this disco parties where you jump under a swirling ball, and you have all this like casual sex stuff. But just going to the nature and sitting down and meditating and listening and looking and touching the grass, like unironically touching the grass, it's a very good experience to recharge your battery and should not be dismissed in this high dopamine society. A lot of these problems that people have, Mr. Perspective told me he took a break from Discord, which I highly encouraged. You have to turn off the computer sometimes, you have to touch nature, you have to take care of something living. My personal hobby is I have a garden on my veranda and my windowsill. I grow a lot of plants, including tomatoes. They grow very well, surprisingly well in this godforsaken climate. And if you can enjoy present and enjoy nature, you can recharge your battery. You can temper down your anger. So, for example, if you go to a debate, right, and you show too much anger, you chimp out, you start yelling insults, the audience perceives you as a loser. So, for you to be strong for the decisive battles, you must also know how to take pleasure in the simple things of life, such as nature, birds, the trees, your local park, and you must not be over dopaminized and have decent sleep schedule, have a decent workout schedule, decent diet, uproot the gluttony and replace it with self-discipline and something close to the Dhamma, which is just is. It doesn't feel, it doesn't hate, it doesn't have euphoria, it just is. The Dhamma is a concept. Well, I've been rambling a stream of consciousness just like blithering genius for a very long time, so I hope you take this lesson to heart and read the materials linked below, and have a nice day. Fjodor von Keck out. Heil Victory.